You have pants.
Get serious. Get serious. Get serious. Our pre-game mantra right now.
Am I wearing pants?
Get serious. Am I wearing pants? We just discovered that Sage has an un non-legitimate fear of walking out of her house pantless,
Yeah,
like all the time. It's never happened,
never
but
happened.
it is a core fear.
It's something in random places. It
Yeah.
actually it happened it happened when I was at my son's parent teacher conference and I'm literally like I have left my
Wait, you were
home.
out of the house
I
already.
this exactly. I had left my home. I got in my van. We drove. We walked in the parking lot. We are in the building. We've probably already seen one of the teachers, and I'm literally walking down the hallway, and in my mind, I go, "Am I wearing pants?"
What in the past life shenanigans are we talking about?
I can't explain it. It's been happening for years. It usually always happens when I go take my dog for WALK. I can't say it because he's behind me, and then he'll want to go right now.
Hmm.
But it's like I got my leggings on, my shoes. He's on the leash. We're going, and then all of a sudden and I will literally look down
Yeah,
as if there's a chance,
right.
as if there's a chance. I'm in my undies with my walking shoes.
I just, it's
Is this
so,
what trauma has done to
it
me?
is trauma. I think this
Trauma
is the trauma. This is tra-
because there's no clear explanation. I don't you dream about this shit. You
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna say, like,
go through real life. I do though. So when somebody's like, it's gonna sound weird, I'm like, just stop. Just
yeah,
there's something
don't.
weird, very
It's,
unusual. You can say something. I'm
yeah,
gonna freak out about it.
we, yeah, we've seen some things, Sage and I. We've seen some things. And so it's n nothing can, I think, surprise us.
No.
I think
It,
there's very little
yeah.
that would be like, okay. And the person's like, what do you mean? It like, oh, okay.
I feel like I have more people be like, I mean, aren't you upset? Like, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I have feelings.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
This I'm still gotta go cook dinner and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, trauma. Hashtag
S-
trauma.
Hashtag trauma. Speaking of feelings, I am properly inside a mega midlife magic moment right now.
Mm. Okay, let's talk about it.
Today I'm getting, well, I know I'm going to get my period soon because yesterday I started feeling irritable in a very specific kind of like, everybody leave me alone,
Yeah,
get
for
out of
sure.
my face, which is never entirely possible, but you know. And so I already am like, oh, okay, here we go. And I started feeling a little bit of like physical discomfort that I'm like, oh, okay, okay. I know what this is going. And
Yes.
yesterday I like blew my back doing a little bit of gardening.
Yeah.
My back, my lower back, I have a heating pad on right now in my lower back. And then my upper like right shoulder has had this like nerve pinch thing that shoots all the way down my arm to my elbow. Yeah, we can laugh. It's okay. So my right wing has been compromised. And I've been getting some hot flashes this morning.
Okay.
I baby flashes.
Yeah.
Warm, baby warm
Yeah.
flashes.
Yeah.
Which it hadn't happened in a while. So I'm like, okay, maybe now they're tied to the hormone shifts of I'm about to get my period.
Hmm.
And again, I am in a quite like bit of an irritable, like get out of my face situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's very few people that can cross this threshold and be safe in
Yeah.
my vicinity before, unless they just want to get like burned to a crisp. There's
Ah,
like a ring of fire around me.
swirling.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
And I'm
dare to
smiling in the
get
middle. I'm
close.
like, You want to try your luck today? It's like Russian roulette, midlife roulette.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's wild. I feel like I sleep a little off and then I wake up and like my whole shoulder's sore and I'm like, when did my body just start?
Speaking of sleep, what is up with this 3 a.m. in the morning, perimenopause, menopause, wake up
I don't know.
situation? Have you heard about this?
I have heard about it and I've experienced it.
Same,
Both. Yeah.
both. And I mean, what the heck is going on at 3 in the morning inside our bodies? Because this week it happened at least two times,
Mhm. It
maybe
happened to me 2 days ago, actually.
at least, yeah, a couple times. And then I saw randomly like a meme or something making fun of it. And I had heard about it before, but it was like not in my consciousness anymore.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, dang, this is like legit. Like, what is the science, but more like sorcery
Yeah.
behind this phenomenon?
Yeah.
Like,
I
what
don't know.
gives? Are we supposed
I
to be doing something at that time? Are we
I
supposed to be like, all right, we all wake up at 3 in the morning and we like conjure up a spell and we're like,
well, I'm a little disappointed because that's what I'm expecting.
well, but then we maybe have to do it instead of just being like, oh, here I am, wake at 3 in the morning. I'm
Right.
gonna try to go back to sleep. We just have to be like, I'm awake. I got some orders I need to follow.
I mean, it's almost like I want a message like it's time. Go
Yeah.
outside, look at the moon.
Yeah,
Like,
like
yeah.
light a candle, dance around naked,
Yeah.
take your pants
Take
off
your
and walk
pants off.
out the
Maybe that's
door.
what. Maybe I am in the middle of the night
Maybe,
taking my pants off outside. I don't know.
maybe that's what you're doing.
So I agree with you. It's like, yeah, I'm sure there's science around it. There is science around it, but I just want to put a pin in the science for a moment because I want to talk about what I want to talk about is
I can't. I
the
can't. I
mysticism
can't.
behind it. It does feel like a meet me outside and let's do the thing kind of vibe. So instead, I'm just like, oh, it's 3 a.m.
Hmm.
Uh, I'd rather be sleeping. Yeah, it's a thing.
Well, I just did a quick little
You did the goggle.
why we wake up at 3 a.m. Okay. It has to do with cortisol, hormone fluctuations. Okay, great, duh. But why 3 a.m.? During times of stress, and let's face it, menopause itself is often stressful. I don't know. Are you stressed out, Sage, at all? Because I'm not. So I don't know. I can't identify it.
I don't.
Cortisol may spike earlier than usual, often around 3 a.m., and this can cause your mind to start racing, making it difficult to drift back to sleep. So, our good old friend cortisol, that's interesting because I guess cortisol has a natural trigger to. Oh, okay. So, cortisol, commonly known as the stress hormone, has a natural rhythm that peaks in the morning to help you wake up.
What an ass.
However, so cortisol and the 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
it's just fascinating because I guess the natural rhythm of waking up is probably like at 6 a.m.
Hmm.
You know, if we were going by, like if we lived in the woods, as we should, sunrise, we'd be
You'd be
like,
up.
it's time to go gather,
Yeah.
milk cows and gather the
Yeah.
chicken eggs. And, you know, we'd be awake. And so the cortisol spiking earlier,
Yeah.
are we supposed to be women of the night?
I mean, here's the problem though. I'm tired early in the evening, so I go to bed early.
Oh,
I I can't
but then
stay.
that might work for you.
Yeah. Actually, what's interesting is now that the seasons are changing and it's so, I mean, it's late here, like till almost 9 o'clock, it feels like.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
same.
so I am staying up later because it's so much lighter outside. And so I'm noticing like, I mean, it's like a 2.5 hour difference. And so I feel like it's taken me a little bit more oomph to get up in the mornings.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, it's the seasonal change. And I love this shit. I love paying attention to like our body's natural responses as the world around us is shifting, specifically like seasonally. Like getting us out of that mindset that we show up the same every day. 365 days. Like how I show up now is not how I'm gonna show up in November. Like energy wise and time I go to bed and so I like at least that I know that I have the awareness to notice my body
Yes.
changing and I'm not trying to push into so I got to keep doing this schedule. It's like, me, I love structure and I'm also like, I love being flexible and going, oh, things are changing. So the way that I go about my day gets to change to then lock into, we're going into summer here in the
Yeah.
Northern hemisphere.
Maybe some intuitive structure. I wish someone wrote
Oh,
a book about that.
oh, captain of my hype squad.
Hype squad captain,
Hype
hype
squad.
squad
Oh, yeah, I wrote a
captain.
book.
The art of Mm,
It's my fifth book,
it's
too.
your fifth book. Girl, listen, come
Bananas.
on. Okay, we're gonna put a pin on that too. Because
Go for it.
yes, the there's so much of this whole reclaiming of the rhythms and how, particularly for us females, the overlaps of different rhythms, the
Yeah,
seasons, our body rhythm, the moon, absolutely everything impacts everything. And
yeah,
dare I say that for so long we've been, the whole story is like, oh, women are crazy,
right.
right? Because we are, and I believe for many, 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 many years,
Mhm.
when we understood the idea of, whether it was goddess culture or our bodies or these natural, it's like you just flowed with the thing and there was nothing
Yeah.
wrong about it. It was just the way it was. And everybody, by the way, aligned into those cycles because
Hmm.
those are the cycles of life.
Yeah.
So the dudes were like, you lead the way, bitches, because
Yeah.
you have the key. You literally, like, you are a conduit for life. You bleed with the moon.
Yeah.
You tell us, and we will
Yeah.
fall in line. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that now we like men fall in line, although
I mean,
let me tell
some.
you something. Bro, sorry. By the way, Jacinda, I forget her last name. Oh my God. The leader of New Zealand, amazing woman. Wait, former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern.
Okay.
Ardern. This woman is 44 years old. She's about to be 45 in July. Come on. She just wrote a book called A Different Kind of Power. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh,
I'm very excited to read it because it proves how successful she was in being a leader and a mom and a wife. And anyway, speaks to sort of the modern version of that, really relying on the power of the cycles and the
hmm,
knowing, the intuitive knowing that we have as women, along with all the amazing things we've learned along the way, just in terms of modern society.
yeah.
And it's like, well, but here we are talking about re-embracing at least the awareness.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. It took me a good, like, I'm going to say like 3 years to clock in a little bit better the fact that, like, how I was feeling towards the end of the year, energy wise, and then in the beginning of the year, because I remember planning for things in my business that were sort of like, okay, sort of end of year kind of
Hmm.
last quarter. And it was like hard. It was like, ugh. And then it was like,
Yeah.
because that is not that moment. And it makes sense. It checks in with the wheel of the year because it's not a time to start new things. It's a time where you're just, you're
Yeah.
gathering and you're then getting ready to rest. And it took me a while to like consciously wrap my head around it and be like, this is the rhythm of what I must follow and
Yeah.
not try to retrofit it to something else. Um,
For sure.
and so it takes like time
Yeah.
to,
It
to really like feel into all of that.
Yeah. Um, this is not a shameless plug, but but it always feels that way when you're a
Listen,
business
we're
owner.
gonna get rid of that. Hype woman does not allow that.
My hype woman's like, hey, stop right there. Go for it. Well, because you mentioned the Wheel of the Year, so of course I've always got my Wheel of the Year painting behind me.
Hmm.
And it's this become this annual tradition that I offer at like the first weekend of December. And I'm thinking about like this year, I want to take a picture of my past 3 years of the Wheel of the Year
Mm.
just to show like how different they are. Like they might have that common thread, but like they're really so different. I think it's so potent to not go, this is how I show up, spring, summer, winter, fall. And then, like, that's what you live by because we're aging, we're changing, we're healing, we're growing. Like, there's so much other things that are
Mm.
so bad in this practice. Oh, did I
Wait,
freeze?
yeah.
I
Repeat what
froze.
you said before the before practice.
I said there's something beautiful about
Hmm.
this practice of, but where am I this year? Where am I in this moment? Instead of going, oh, this is how I show up through all the seasons. Because this year when I promote the next one, I'm going to take a picture of all of them and be like, this is the beauty of doing this every
Yeah.
year is because you're in a different place every year.
That's how I feel about word of the year. Same. It's a
Totally. Yes.
tradition,
Yes.
early, like late November, early December. We do these things around the same time
We
because
do.
it
It's
makes
beautiful.
sense. And again, I've had people repeat, as you have, I'm
I
sure,
do
and
every
they're
year.
like, wow. And it's so, and it tells a story over time.
It does. It's
And I've looked at my words of the year and I'm like, wow, it really does weave a story that only from like a sort of like you have to like soar up like an eagle and be like, is that eagle or seagull?
that had some eagle
It's
energy.
like you have to zoom out and up and be like,
Yeah.
wow, look at this story of my life.
I love that.
So, same with the Wheel of the Year. I really want to do that one this year.
Yeah. I'll be sure to like mention it ahead of time and be like prepping you, be like, yo, this
Yo,
week
yeah.
doing the thing. But I mean, that has become my rhythm is doing your word of the year,
Hmm.
and then I do my wheel of the year, and then winter solstice. It's like that is my like end of the year
Yes.
release and reveal kind of like it's this beautiful, beautiful rhythm that I find there is really working in my life to like carry me into this next, the upcoming year.
Mm,
I love it.
I
I
love
love
it.
it. I mean, having that practice, I think is so beautiful and grounding and eye-opening. It's just so good.
Yeah. And the other incredible thing about it is that it really gives you a sense of, I'm going to use the word control in air quotes, but there's all this, the frenzy of the end of the year.
Oh,
Everybody's in their own like chaotic state of
yeah.
whatever. There's frenzy outside, there's frenzy in all the things. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And so
totally.
it gives you this sense of ownership, maybe is the better word. Feel free to give me
Yeah.
another one of your own sacred end of year. So it really becomes like this pocket where you like, or this is this
Yeah.
little, this room where you put yourself in and you don't have to disconnect completely from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You just peek out the window and go like, hey, hi. But I really feel like with these practices, I'm in my own space and then I get to decide what the flow is for me.
Yeah.
And for example, you mentioned winter solstice. It's like for me, winter solstice is my end of year, is my own very personal end of year. So by the time New Year's comes in and you're celebrating with other people or whatever is happening, I always make it a point to have it be somewhat sacred, but there's all these like expectations on these
Yeah.
other like societal milestones. Do you
Hmm.
know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
when we do our own practices and our own milestones and our own rituals, that it's not just us, but a lot of other women and men out there are doing them too.
Yeah.
All of us witches are out there like winter solstice. It like gives me a sense of like, oh, and by
Yeah.
the time the new year rolls around, like midnight, I'm like, I'm already there.
Yeah. It's
I'm
definitely
already
a different
there. It
vibe.
takes off so
Yeah.
much pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. We're very similar in that way where we're almost like cleaning up that energy, like moving it and doing the work like before the whole like it's a new year.
Yeah.
I don't find myself in that. I know January is known for like new beginnings and starting fresh, and I get it. And also, I feel like when I roll into January, I'm like, all right. There's no like, oh, well, what does my year look like? I mean, this year, let's say, was very different than it normally is for me. And I had a great plan. And then, then Era of the Dreamers happened.
Yeah.
And it blew it all up in the most magical, glittery way. But I guess I don't go into January going, now what? I feel
Yeah.
like with my whatever downloads or whatever's coming up from the word of the year and wheel of the year, like I'm already like
And we also pull, which I actually didn't do this year, which also speaks to the flexibility with which we
yeah,
hold our own rituals. But I typically, like you do, pick a card, you know,
yeah,
a tarot card and a sort of word theme for each month. There's also that, which is
yeah,
another source of beautiful guidance. And
yeah.
again, this year that didn't happen for me. And I'm like, I chose not to do it. And I was like, all good. There was no, oh,
No
I'm
pressure.
missing. No, absolutely not. And I
Yeah.
love when you tell me, oh, my word of the month is trust, or my word of the month is, and I'm like, incredible. And I don't feel a sense of like, oh, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Ugh. And I haven't wanted to because I could still be like, all right, let's go. Half the year. Pick the
But
like
we're not stuck in that. It's this or that.
not stuck at all, which is a whole new vibe than maybe
Yeah.
where I was
Oh yeah.
earlier
It's
in,
like yeah.
not too distant past in my own journey where it's like, oh, you could do it this way because this is how we've seen it. And um, January for me, especially this year, I just, I kept getting that feeling of like January is just like this, like long
Right.
pause. And what happened? Everybody had the longest January
Ever.
known to womankind. Like we could not believe how long it felt.
Yeah.
And so I knew from before that I felt this like there's nothing that's going to really move until like
Yeah.
February, end of February. And so it's kind of like tracked that way. And it didn't mean that we were stagnant. I think you and I
No.
made some really beautiful choices where we just found like this sort of magic in that mush, like in that like
Yeah.
openness, which is so
Well, we
um
kept digging around in it. We didn't just like
yeah.
we didn't just like let ourselves sink in the mush. We were
Mhm.
like, we're in the mush. What's else? What else is in the mush?
Yes,
Like dig around. Let's
yes.
get curious.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it really, I mean, it really served us because we were in
Yeah.
this like, oh, wow. And then, the months have kept going and we're still, it's just, it's been a ride.
It's been a ride. That is accurate.
It's been
Facts. Yeah.
facts. I feel like at the beginning of the year, we did a lot of like chaos gardening, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
We just had all these like beautiful seeds and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
and then we are yet to like, they're still taking. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing, but we still can't see the
Yeah.
sort of, yeah,
I don't know if I've got the word that feels like 100 for me of like how the beginning of this year was like post Era of the Dreamers feels like a big milestone marker because so much shifted after we did that workshop together, like
yeah,
so much shifted. The plan that I had for my year, just like
yeah,
I willingly let it go. It wasn't like something happened and just I was like actually, and which is huge for me being
yeah,
someone who is a planner and structured, like that I allowed myself to be flexible. I allowed myself to walk into the trust and walk into the unknown and go, I'm gonna listen to my inner knowing, my compass. So I feel like it's been so observational these past few
mm,
months. I feel like I've been in a tower like watching and observing and just being curious and being like, well, oh, that's interesting. That actually doesn't, that's not smooth anymore, or this doesn't work anymore, or, but I really like that. So I don't know. It feels like, it just feels different. It's things are moving, I'm in action, and also there's this like that pullback and seeing
Yeah.
the whole thing and then going, do I really want to keep doing that? Is this working? Like, I don't know, it just feels like a way deeper, I don't know. I still don't have the words,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. I don't have the words either. However,
What you got?
she's like, oh, you got something.
What you
I can
got over there?
I can see it. Well, I'll reflect something that we spoke about earlier
Mhm.
when I said, part of what I think is happening, and others might relate to this, is that for the previous 5, 10 years, let's say, like 5, 6 years, we were still following certain patterns and sort of prescriptions for life and sort of like, all right, well, this is, how you do what you do, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
then now we have intentionally chosen and
Mhm.
also at the same time have been vomited out of the systems that have held us. And by systems, I'm talking about everything, patterns of how you do life and the steps and this and that and all that jazz. And
Mhm.
so we really are in this space of figuring out what lies beyond all of those previous prescriptions and patterns that we consciously or unconsciously were following,
Mhm.
which somehow make things make sense, right? Even though you always have this sense of like, there's something more, this is not quite it, but you're like, all right, but here we go. And then this year, I think a combination of things, the entry into midlife being one of them, because we've both entered this like the half point of your life where hormones change. And also we have the Uranus opposition in our charts, where Uranus really is the planet that like clashes with itself and goes, all right, the first half of the year of your life, you lived for other people. You followed the patterns, you followed the prescriptions, you acquiesced, you did that thing. Now, the second half of your life, by design, you're going to live from your essence. And it
Mhm.
sounds fabulous, right? Until you're
Yeah.
like in it and you're like, oh, dang, like, yes, I want to. And also, that requires, like, imagine just the idea, like, take a moment and just think about what does it mean and feel like to live from my essence, which is completely unique. It's
Mhm.
not dependent on anybody else. It's this expression of life and energy that emanates from you and you alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And the courage and the all the leaning in and all that it takes to just keep, you know,
Mhm.
trusting in that very natural way of opening up this second half of life. It's uncomfortable in all the ways because it'll trigger us, it'll shift things, it'll shift relationships, it'll shift everything. And I think, and I want to believe that most women are very welcoming and open to that. And I do think that a lot of people might get just properly freaked out
Mhm.
and just block that completely and go, oh, oh.
Yeah.
But then you'll never not feel angry and resentful and blocked and numb and like creatively blocked,
Right.
throat chakra blocked, heart blocked. And you walk around your life feeling pissed off because there's something there that's stuck. And that's what's probably stuck.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that 100%. And I think it comes back to, I mean, I kind of love that I chose trust for this month. It's kind of like the workshop we just did yesterday.
Mhm.
Time.
It's
Time is
available
so
on
weird.
YouTube. It's fabulous.
But
It's
it's about
free. It's
that.
free. It's free.
It's free.
It's free. Come
I
on.
like free.
Yeah.
It's free. Uh, But it's the whole essence of coming back home to ourselves, right? Do we
Mhm.
trust ourselves? Most of the time people follow because they don't trust themselves, or there's so much noise that they can't even hear themselves talk. So they don't even think. I've heard people say like, I don't, do I have an inner knowing? Like, do I have an intuition? Because I can't hear anything. But they usually can't hear anything because it's their whole being is full of noise of other people's shit. So it's like I really and we both said this from the gate this year is that one of however we worded it, it was like one of the big themes is going to be like intimacy, listening to yourself, taking care of yourself, like coming back to yourself.
Mhm.
And I still stand by that 100%
Yeah.
that that has been what I have done this year, which is probably why the plan went out the window because I was like, well, that's a good plan, but does that
Yeah.
feel
It was not aligned with your essence
exactly?
as it as she's evolved up to this point.
Yeah.
And most likely, all those plans are based more on the feedback that we're receiving from the outside of
Yeah.
what somebody needs from us rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
And it's a balance, but yeah, like this is the year of the hermit. We talked about that early on. Makes sense. Like hermit goes in the cave and that torch that, she holds is like lit bright, like that represents hope.
Hmm.
But there's this coming within and
Yeah.
coming within. And then we have all that Pisces North Node energy, which is very fluid, ethereal, intuitive. And it's like you say, oh, it's so magical, which sounds so like amazing. But the truth is that the magic is raw. It's like this raw truth.
Yeah.
Or, the magic is like, oh, sort of that sprinkle of finding all those beautiful points of magic in your life. Yes. And the magic is also like raw.
Hmm.
Your intuition, your inner voice, how we trust ourselves
Yeah.
is everything. And because you and I have been thrust into situations early in our lives that took us like, sort of like threw us into this realm of we had to figure out very
Hmm.
quickly how to trust ourselves
Yeah.
because other people because you it sounds harsh, but you really can't rely on anybody else
Yeah.
to pull yourself through. We can
Right.
support each other, but other people, other situations, it will let you down if you're only expecting them and other things to fill you and lift you. Inevitably, they will let you down unless you're like, all right, it's me, which is like
Mhm.
life is you.
Right. And I think we get some point in our lives, a lot of folks get detached. They get detached from this is my life,
Yep.
and they live their life based on what other people think it should look like, what society tells us, all the million reasons. And then I think they come to a point where they're like, why am I so fucking miserable?
Yeah.
Why don't I feel good? I mean, it doesn't mean you always feel good when you listen to your inner essence. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's uncomfortable
It's
as
growth,
shit.
yo.
Did you say it's growth or gross?
Both. No,
Both.
I said growth, but
Um,
but sometimes feelings feel gross.
yeah. Yeah, like if you look at all the ways that we've been kind of plucked out of the natural rhythms,
Mhm. So many.
there's so many ways that
So
we've been
many.
forcefully plucked out of the natural rhythms. And so of course we feel
Yeah.
uneasy. Of course we feel like we can't because and it's weird because then it's like, oh, people might feel like, well, life is just hard. I don't want to I want to tread lightly because it's like, yes, but the reason why it's harder is because we have been plucked out of those rhythms.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, going back into those rhythms is not something that society is yet prepared to do.
Yeah.
But so you can't look at society as a whole to make that shift for you. That's why you gotta like, oh, okay. Like if the whole crowd is going in this direction, you gotta be like, oh,
Yeah.
and we're walking away from that mass because we're like, that can't, that doesn't,
Yeah.
that's not it. Again, because we we sort of dispel this illusion of reliance on others, and we realize that it's like self-reliance
Hmm.
that is what's really going to ultimately fill us. And
Yeah.
that from that point, we then connect with others and build those beautiful bonds and bridges and really sit with each other in community.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think you got to do one, you got to definitely work on one before the other could really flourish and be real and genuine, because
yeah,
then it just becomes a codependent relationship.
100%. And that is, I have to imagine most relationships, unfortunately, fall into that trap of codependency. Um, and if that alone were to shift, we'd be
Yeah.
wow. Like, but as a society, but again, it's like, oh, think about what the things that are happening. It's like, well, if I can't rely on society to sort of dictate where I'm going,
Hmm.
great, then you have to like look elsewhere while you're still an active participant of society.
Yeah.
Um, and that's part of that's the big sort of that's what we're doing.
I mean, I agree. Like sometimes I hear folks get mad at the government. Me too. I'm mad at the government. But
Hmm.
like, but what I hear is like, but they're supposed to be doing this or they're supposed to be taking care of this, but they're not.
Right.
So now what? Like, if it doesn't mean you don't do the advocacy and the activism work, right? But also, it's like, what's a solution of you taking your life in your own hands for whatever it is you need? We all have individual needs. We
Yeah.
all have individual medical needs, individual food needs, housing needs, like job needs. Like everybody in each of their lives, there's one big focus usually, and then it feeds other things, of course. But
Hmm.
point being is like, yes, people are not doing their jobs. Like that's clear. We see that. And how do you get to take your power back?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
And
it's
it looks
it's
different for each of us.
it does, and it so feels so clear to me at least that when you're always looking out and like, oh well, they're not doing their well, it's like no, but then
Correct.
what? Yeah, but then
I
so
agree.
okay, so are you going to just like I
Just die off because somebody's not doing their job.
I mean, yeah. And it again goes to show you how we've been sort of the only time in our lives when we truly depend on someone is in early childhood. And, that's by design, right? Because we're brought in to be taken care of and reared. And some people had really, really choppy experiences with that and have had to heal. I don't know anybody like that have had to heal the lack of care that what they didn't receive, which they
Right.
absolutely required.
Hmm.
Somebody there did not do their job, right?
Yeah.
But then even if somebody there does their job, we're sort of conditioned to then hop into the next phase where it's like you're just passed around from expecting one thing from parents or whoever raised you to
Mhm.
then another human via marriage.
Right, right.
And then it's like, well, that whole system really like truncates growth.
Hmm.
And I find it fascinating because there's sort of this natural, like hormonal, draw, right? Because ultimately the species wants to like procreate itself. Like every species just wants to pass on its genes. That's what we're wired for. But then all of these systems have come in place to create these standard of what it looks like to basically now depend on one person. And then the story continues on where you're not also invited to flourish in your own self.
Right.
And then you become the you're assigned sort of this like, well, now I expect from this one person. And then you have kids, and then it's like, oh, I expect from these kids. And then it's like, but you're still left
Hmm.
like not, we're not taught how to rear ourselves
Yeah.
and go, you are truly an independent, fully whole being. And what you need to do first and foremost is begin to understand who you are and the fact that that will change forever.
Yeah.
But those points of access to our own knowing,
Hmm.
we're never taught.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, a shift happens in your life via divorce, illness, death, whatever, right? With that sort of structure of your partnership. And then you're left reeling unless you've already begun to understand who you are. And then it's like, okay, well, that was a part of my story, but not my full story.
Yeah.
Because my story is mine. I'm at the center, and all of these connections are like orbiting around me. And so it's no wonder that so many people and women especially are left like paddling to try to stay afloat when things change dramatically in their lives because they haven't had the opportunity to get to know themselves
Well, I think, and they've
intimately.
surrendered so much of their power to the other person.
Right. Right. And as you know, empty nest. Again, these are all changes that are very real and absolutely evoke emotions. I'm not saying like, oh, well, changes are going to happen and you just rely on yourself and figure it out. But there's the emotion laced with, wow, what an incredible job I've done
Yeah.
up to this point. And I'm now starting a new phase. And I'm
Hmm.
allowing my kids to start their phase as an example in that,
I mean, yeah, I've
which you
definitely
just
feel
went
it.
through.
I definitely feel a difference of like reflection in my own life and like not questioning, but reflecting like what does my future look like with one kid who's moved out and goes to university in a different state? Like that's a huge difference, especially being a single mom and you're always with your kids because you're
Yeah.
the only parent they have. So then one, and it's like a beautiful thing, right? I'm so stoked. Like I'm so stoked for her to have this experience and I'm so proud of her and I'm proud that she has the ability to go be on her own, right? Like that's beautiful. She doesn't need me to handhold, but without a doubt, there's the calls of like, hey, I just needed to hear your voice. And I'm like, I got you. Tell me about your day. Like it works. It's not codependent, but there's support there, right?
Yeah.
And that's my goal because I didn't have that. So I want that with my kids and I want them to know they are their person and I'm
Mm-hmm.
always going to be here for you. Like both and.
Yeah.
But point explaining all of that is there are times when the house is quieter. Heath's doing his own thing, and it's me. And there's just a lot of reflection of like, okay, my life is changing. The way my life looked is now changing into this next thing. And then I asked myself a shit ton of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I asked myself, well, how does that feel? Like what's shifting? Like is there sadness? Is there, fear? And I just, I feel a lot of different ways about it, but I'm never like controlling it or I need it to look a certain way. It's always like, it's just a reflection of checking in. And I think that's how we
Yeah.
stay connected to our essence and we build trust with ourselves because I'm not disconnected from myself. I'm
Yeah.
asking myself questions, I'm feeling my feelings. And I think it's a beautiful stage of life, but it definitely feels different. Definitely
Yeah.
feels different to not have little kids needing me to do all the things. I mean, Heath is super independent. Like it's just different.
Yeah.
And there's a peace and spaciousness that I have now that I didn't have before. Not that I didn't have peace with my kids, but peace with my past partners, right? And like family members and shit like that. So I guess I just keep leaning into this next evolution of what my life looks like.
Yeah.
I don't try to fix it because there's nothing to fix.
Mm.
Change is fucking, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I love how you described so beautifully like what it's like to sit with it,
Mhm.
to sit with these things
Yeah.
and not like dart, you know? We just
Right.
sit with it and ask ourselves questions
Yeah.
and reflect. And it happens throughout the day while you're like,
Yeah.
it's an but it's this thread inside of yeah, like sitting with it, like holding it,
Yeah.
like
But being with
and
yourself,
being, yeah,
like fill all the space, like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, or it makes me sad to think that, this house will be like child free one day. Like, what is
yeah,
that going to feel like? And then I go run to do something because I don't want to feel that. But instead, I'm in this practice of like, well, let me feel it, because then
yeah,
I think, and I don't know because I'm not a in the future reader, but I think that when it does happen, it's not going to be such a shock for me. It's
yeah,
not as disruptive because I've been exploring it. I'm not just like pretending it's not going to happen and then it happens and I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" It's like I'm being with it now as it presents itself to me.
yeah. I can relate 100% with my own like grief
Yeah.
with my husband. And precisely, I like have a trust that when I allow those moments to, they come in and I will sit with them and I will like hold myself through them. Um, and I also think to myself, I am sort of like beginning to heal as I'm holding this. Like I'm beginning to heal and almost like exposing my soul to that
Mm-hmm.
pain and that future reality
Yeah.
whenever it may come. And it's like, it's the tendency is that you want to just be like, but I'm like, I just breathe. I'm like, I'm here and this is it. And, and I find that when I do that, things move, right? Eventually that
Mm-hmm.
sort of really intense crunch of grief will like begin to sort of find its way. Um, and yeah, there's something really beautiful about your own soul and your own inner guidance system, understanding how it is actually preparing you for what's to come.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that doing that type of noticing and awareness and feeling and healing, do you think that supports you in being more present in your life?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100 million%. Yeah, that's so well said because, and I knew from early on that part of my early work as we were beginning, as his body was beginning to change. I remember one of the first sort of visceral experiences of it is that his left hand was beginning to like lose a lot of muscle. Like, it was one of the first things lose a lot of mass, like start to get thinner when I would hold it. And I
Hmm.
remember a moment when it was like we were in bed and I was holding his hand and I was like, I want to, you know, have the strength and the grace to hold because the tendency is to be like, oh my God, it's things are changing and
Yeah.
it's like and I held it and I was like, I want to be able to hold. I want to be able to be here. And it's the
Mhm.
same with the feelings. And
Yeah.
it really like brings me
Hmm.
here. And it's been a really conscious practice of having that act, like opening myself to all of those bits of emotions, just like,
Hmm.
then I'm here. And I don't want to delay the grief. I
Right.
don't want to, you know, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
so
100%.
yeah, it absolutely brings me to presence. And it's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And it's a gift because when we have the awareness of actually going through that process, then I feel this beautiful sense of trust also that when my husband is no longer here, part of my grief and pain won't include regret.
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I'm like,
You were there,
I was
right?
there.
Your future self will be like, I really
I was
fucked up.
there. And so that's a really potent gift. And I remember at a certain point where it like clicked for me that I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
I will miss him and it will be, all the things. But
Yeah.
that one sense of like, I could have done more for
Hmm.
whatever I was capable of doing.
Yeah.
I could have been here more. I could have, eh, that doesn't,
Won't
that
even be able
doesn't
to bend.
exist.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to all of that constant
Hmm.
leaning into it, getting close to it, really like being in the moment with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Hmm.
really, I think it's a gift that you two share together as you talk about things, you process things. You're like
Yeah.
doing the work of the collective grief, the individual grief together. And that's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like such an example of what happens when you really connect in a raw way with somebody else. And whether it's, you're talking about grieving death or other things. It's just
Yeah.
that access to each other
Yeah.
where this idea of like there's no stone unturned
Yeah.
with and in full respect of each other, And I feel like maybe that's also when we think about friendships,
Hmm.
those friendships that just kind of like have this beautiful frequency of like, there's no stone unturned,
Yeah.
you know? Like I
Yeah.
know that's how we feel about each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's freaking like, and it also comes from a place of each of these entities is doing their work, is
Hmm.
feeling their feelings, is present to their reality, is like, you know, is living their life.
We are active participants of our
Active,
life.
full-on participants of their life. Because my husband and I couldn't have that access to each other if he wasn't fully
Hmm.
being a participant in his story. And I was doing the same on my end. And we
Yeah.
weren't having to like fill each other's holes.
Yeah.
We complement each other and we lift each other up.
Hmm.
But it wouldn't be possible if, he was like checked out of his own story because I couldn't access his heart that way. And he couldn't
Right.
access mine.
Yeah.
We'd be so
Yeah.
shielded and guarded that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally. I
And
agree.
again, that's how I feel about like you like, bringing it to another dimension of relationship is I think like we have this, we're not guarded.
Hmm.
And there's the trust
Hmm.
of when two people have already worked on their own, dropped their guards and worked on their boundaries and understood who they are and while still stumbling around all messy in life. But there's like, hey, I trust you. And I know you're not going to mess with me in a way that's really like true.
Yeah.
Um, and we have this like open carte blanche to like, if there's anything that feels weird,
Yeah.
any disturbance in the force,
Yeah.
we just bring it up. Like,
Hey, so hey.
hey,
I thought there
so
was this thing.
it was this thing. I felt a thing. And yeah.
And that's beautiful and real that you can do that. And you're not
Hmm.
holding on to it, being resentful, being worried, being like whatever the feeling is.
Yeah.
You're just like naming the thing, and then it's like, oh, we're good. Yay, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And then we keep going.
And that also reflects on our kids, like you were talking about your daughter. And I know you feel that with Heath. I feel that with Skylar,
Yeah.
even at his young age. It's like you're your own
Yeah.
little dude, and I'm here to support you and you're growing in any absolutely every way. And also, I have this full respect of the wholeness of the person that he is, that I'm like, I don't have any holes to fill.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. There's nothing that you require from me except the safety, food, you
Yeah.
know, like we're doing life together.
Yeah. And it's that
That's
clear knowing they are having their own experience.
yes.
It is not up to me to dictate what that experience
Yes.
looks like. I can make
Yes.
suggestions, I can give insights, I can share, but like the end of the day, that is their story. That
Yeah.
is their experience.
Yeah. And we get to do this life together. Like we get to ride this ride, but you're sitting in your seat and I'm sitting in mine, and we have different perspectives. And
I mean, like last night, Bella called me and she's like, "Hey, before I make a decision, I wanted to ask your opinion." And I was like, "Awesome." And inside I'm like,
yay.
And so she shared with me, obviously was honest and, this is what I think. And she's like, okay. And at that point, it was like, whatever she chooses is her choice. There's no
Hmm.
attachment if she doesn't do the thing that I suggested or was leaning towards. Like, that to me is like the difference
Yeah.
in people doing the work and people not doing the work is because people not doing the work will tend to be like, but this is, you have to do this, or if you
Hmm.
don't, blah, blah, blah. Instead, it's like, well, I think, if it were me or, however I worded it, it's like, I would probably feel this way. And so I'd probably lean this way. How do you feel about it?
Yeah.
What feels good to you? Like, what are your concerns? Instead of making it about me and what I think, even though
Hmm.
you're giving an opinion, but you're bringing it back to them of this is your experience. And so it was one of those moments where I just collect evidence of like, oh, that was good, Sage. That was
Mm.
good.
You did good. You did good.
That's
What
why my kid calls me.
yeah, exactly. And the thing about not making it about yourself,
Yeah,
because then it's like, oh, you feel responsible for
right.
the kid that makes a certain choice. And then, which I think is what a lot of our like parents' generation is dealing with, is
Yeah,
feeling incredibly like responsible for how their child behaves and acts. And then when they don't do things a certain way, they then feel like they've let them down and they
right.
feel embarrassed.
Yeah,
And that is like a whole other topic. But
yeah,
then you're making it about yourself because
yeah,
whatever she decides, if if you then, if it's like, oh, I feel embarrassed that my child made that choice.
yeah,
And then it's like, well, that's up to you to clean up
yeah,
that your side of the street.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
oh, why, why would I feel, and it's like, that's me.
Yeah. And
So,
it's such a great feeling to be like unattached, to know like
mhm,
I did the thing they needed me to do that was supportive and served them. They asked for what they needed. I showed up. And now the ball's back in their court.
yeah,
I'm not even playing in the game right now because it's their
because
choice.
it's their game.
And it's beautiful. And there's no judgment if whatever she ends up choosing, it's like, okay. And
Hmm.
because if she makes a choice that doesn't feel like it works out, then we go, okay, well, you made a choice and
Yeah,
you have an experience. And so what do you think didn't work about that? Like it's then talking about like, well, what could you do differently? What did you
yeah,
take from that? There's not like you're wrong, you're right, you're bad, you're good. It's like you made a fucking choice.
yeah.
You
Or,
felt it.
the kiss of death. I told you so.
Oh God.
Ah,
How many times I've
no,
heard that? Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, that's not serving. It
No,
doesn't
like,
support.
guess what? We all had the opportunity to like bump
Yeah.
through life, like fucking bumper cars that like,
Yeah.
then it's same. It's like just because you've had just because you think you know better,
Yeah.
maybe we do, and we have certain wisdom that has like prepared us,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
just your opportunity now. And then, like you said, okay, we reassess, we recalibrate,
Yeah.
new
And we
moment.
talk about it, in a respectable way with each other because I want you to collect information so that next time you feel like you make a choice that does feel better for
Mm,
yourself.
yep.
I don't think this shit's rocket science. I'm just saying.
Nope.
I don't think so. Wow.
Oh, wow, we have gone places.
I felt like we went on a road trip. It was so
Hmm.
nice. Wish we would have stopped at the beach though.
I like the road
But
trip.
I feel like we went on a road trip. This was good stuff.
Really good. Really, really good. Well, we're glad you came on the road trip with us if you're
Ah,
here. And come and follow us in all the places. There will be links below to the things. I love how you just fixed your earring when it's been like the little red has been like popping.
It always does that.
Rebel. The Rebel Muse. It was the red one. That was like all recording long. All recording long. For those
Yeah,
listening, Sage has these
authenticity.
fabulous rainbow tassel earrings, and the little red tassel was like upside down the whole time.
That red
And
tassel is the
and of
don't
course
tell
I
me what
wasn't going to
to
say
do.
anything because she just wanted to be like
Yeah. Does
flip everybody off.
yeah.
Well, I love you, Sage,
Yeah.
and we love everybody who is listening.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Sage.
Hey, I'm proud
Wink,
of you.
wink, wink, wink. Thank you.
This is so good.
Wink, wink. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out. And
Yeah.
yeah, go be you out in the world.
Yeah. Go be
Screw
you.
everybody else. Come on.
Yeah. Go listen to
Yeah,
yourself.
go listen to
Go
yourself.
listen to yourself. How about that?
Yeah, how about that? Bye.